What's going on, everybody? Frank from 5AM Ramen, and I am in Wakayama City, Wakayama. Likely a place you haven't heard of, although they do have a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But we're of course not visiting that. We're having delicious Wakayama Ramen. Wakayama is well known for its ramen, and you can basically break it down into two types of ramen that they have down here. One that's lighter and more about soy sauce, and the other that's heavier and more about pork bones. Still soy sauce seasoned for that one though. Wakayama is a place that deeply loves its ramen and has a deep ramen history. Without further ado, let's dive into the best Wakayama ramen shops. Welcome to 5AM Ramen. Alongside me, you've got visa-free entry to the spectacular world of ramen in Japan. I'm Frank, and I shower in ramen soup every morning. We're starting a brand new ramen series with this video. We're in the Kansai region of Japan, and the Kansai region is home to famous cities like Osaka, Kyoto, and Nara. It's a historically important region and forms the second biggest metropolitan area after Kanto, the region I'm from. I love visiting Kansai, and this includes ramen. Let's call this a Kyoto Ramen series, but we're beginning the series in another part of Kansai, Wakayama. Wakayama is probably most famous outside of Japan for Mount Koya, but within Japan, Wakayama is famous for ramen. On the heavier side, Wakayama Ramen is top notch. We're starting at a little place called Seino, our first bowl in Wakayama and our first bowl in the series. Let's hear what this bowl's all about. Delicious bowl at Seino. That was pretty rich, but not as rich as I imagine it could be, and also not as rich as some of the bowls I've had in Tokyo. I haven't had Wakayama Ramen a crazy amount of times, but I've had it in Tokyo. Of course, gotta compare with the real thing here. And between the light and heavy, this is more about the lighter style, or the shakomaike style of ramen. Even though the soup was rich, it's actually quite sappari, or how would you say that, refreshing. Not as heavy as it looks, and not as heavy as it could be again. And it's crazy, I'm walking these streets, there's like nobody on them. Wakayama is, not a small city, but it is such a contrast every time I go from Tokyo to another city that's even just a little bit smaller. Of course, the comparison with Tokyo and Wakayama is like David and Goliath. So that bowl was very well balanced. It had a beautiful soy sauce flavor, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tanginess, of course, as you get with soy sauce, and a soup that's rich from pork bones but doesn't get too rich. And it serves scalding hot, by the way. Pretty simple in terms of toppings. You got negi there and more old school chashu pork. I was tempted to get an egg, but I think I'm gonna add that at the next place. Thin and firm noodles to soak up that soup like a straw. Big fan of this style. It might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, tonkotsu shoyu styles of ramen. And on another note, this place, Seino, what a location there in the basement. Very convenient, right in the station. And we're actually going to be visiting Seino's main branch, where they serve that ramen, which they call a kotteri ramen, or a heavy ramen, even though it's maybe not as heavy as it could get. But at their main branch tomorrow, we'll be having a little bit of a different style. So this was a wonderful warm-up to that. And for round two, I am now walking over to Ide Shoten. This place is synonymous with Wakayama Ramen, or chuka soba. And for the heavier style, which they basically started because they call it Ideke. Let's see what they're all about. I feel pretty stupid. Ide Shoten is closed on Thursdays.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
It's written in big letters on the sign outside, and it also says so on Google. I just didn't look at it. But it is all good. It was a short walk from the station. I've got a backup plan, and this place is technically ranked higher than Ide Shoten. And they do the same rich style though that Ide Shoten does. Okay, bowl number two is coming from Yamatame, one of Wakayama's top-ranked ramen shops. It's as hole in the wall and as old school as can be. More from me on the ground. Okay, bowl number two here in Wakayama City at Yamatame. Quite the contrast with the Depachika, or department store basement, first ramen shop that we visited. This place was frozen in time. Dark brown interior, super old school, nearby salarymen going to eat this ramen during their lunch break. Doesn't get more local than this. I ordered the tsukemono, which is basically a pickled vegetable, and also the chuka soba, or the ramen. And there on the menu by the chuka soba, it says we have thin noodles. So I'm guessing if you don't request thin noodles, you're gonna get thicker noodles, because unusually enough on the menu, they also have curry udon and some udon dishes. But everyone around me seemed to be ordering the chuka soba. And the person right before me got the thin noodles. I think that's the way to go here in Wakayama. So I also went with the thin noodles. Now this looked much more to me like what I have always thought Wakayama ramen to be, or chuka soba. You have one, or in this case, several Naruto fish cake on top, and the way they look in Wakayama is a little bit different from the white fish cake with the pink spiral, and a lot of fatty pork. That was some good pork. Melts in your mouth, super fatty, not really on the tougher and more chewy side, very fatty pork belly. Now that soup, there was no sharing the stage in terms of the soy sauce and the pork bones. The pork bones shoved the soy sauce over to the side and said, hey, I'm bossing this bowl. It was indeed rich, but more than that, what I was getting was a lot of porkiness. It was just that pork funk, almost like purposely messy in a way. And it also had this very grainy, almost sandy texture. So very porky, and overall looking a lot more what I thought of Wakayama ramen or chuka soba to be up until now. And this is the richer style coming from Ide Shoten. So we're definitely gonna visit Ide Shoten tomorrow after my blunder. And I wanna compare what this place, Yamatame, is like compared to Ide Shoten. And Wakayama is one of those areas where you don't see a lot of other ramen styles. It's gonna be Wakayama ramen all the way. All these places serve either that light or rich styles. Yeah, you might get some other styles here and there, but let's say the vast majority is gonna be what we just had, with a few little tweaks. I'm still hungry, of course, but I don't know, like I'm looking around, there's maybe one more spot I think I'd like to try, but if we don't go, it's not the end of the world. Let's take a look at Wakayama Castle first. I'm curious if there's a fee to get in. Next up is ramen shop Marutaka, and we're getting a side dish of sushi, hayazushi. This is a thing in Wakayama, ramen and sushi. More details now. Alrighty, bowl number 3 at Takamaru. And each of these places are a little bit different. I'll say that before I talk about this specific ramen bowl. You know, I'm talking about, oh, it's either light or heavy. It's not so much one or the other. I mean, of course, it very much can be, but often you're gonna find places that do something in between. You know, it's kind of like, yeah, how far on that scale are they? And I think this place was a good example of that. Takamaru did something that wasn't super, super heavy, but it wasn't exactly light either. You definitely got that pork bone funk, but not nearly as intense as the previous shop. But I felt like the soy sauce, yeah, stood up a little bit more. You know, it's funny, the soy sauce seasoning is such an important part of this bowl. I mean, that's what gives it that dark brown color, but it's really like a vehicle in these heavier bowls for that pork bone to shine. Not that you forget about the soy sauce, but it's there, but it's like, okay, I will guide you pork bones in the soup, if that makes sense at all. I mean, this is not a shoyu ramen. At least the last 2 places, you know, these are pork bone ramen that happen to be seasoned with soy sauce. But what I loved about this place the most is that it also is very old school on the inside, and I've been waiting to have sushi in one of these places, or as they call it, hayazushi. This is a thing in Wakayama. Wakayama is known for sushi that's a little bit different also from what you get in, say, Tokyo, and they serve it alongside ramen. What makes Wakayama ramen shops cool too is that, maybe not so much now, but back in the day, you would basically just tell them what you ordered at the end, because there's a section, and this is the case here, where you can just grab as many sushi as you want. So at the end of it, you're like, yeah, I ate 3. Please give me the bill for 3 of them. There was also oden, I believe they were making in the front there. So just besides ramen, you can also enjoy some other things here. And this is quite unique to Wakayama, so I'm glad I got to experience that. But I think I'm gonna tap out for a little while. Don't know what I'm gonna do the rest of the day. I might just take it easy. I slept like a few hours last night, so I am out of it. That just means I can get a good night's sleep and we go hard tomorrow. So yeah, I didn't end up taking a nap or anything like that. So I'm still pretty dead, but I will sleep like a baby after 2 more bowls tonight. So that's the plan, 2 bowls, 5 in total. And I was looking at my schedule and it just worked out this way. I was like, let's clean up Wakayama tonight besides Ide Shoten, which I'll do tomorrow. But yeah, I'm all the way here. Might as well finish today strong. Marumi is our final ramen shop today, a ramen dinner. After what was a heavy ramen day, let's hear my thoughts on Marumi. And excuse me here as I compete with the traffic, but while my thoughts are fresh, here in this pitch black, thought it would be best to recap. So Marumiya, they've been around for a long time. What was the year? 1949, I think, something like that. So they go way back. And they were apparently the ones that started this lighter style, this shakomaike. But again, like every bowl in Wakayama, oh my God, you can barely see me. This will be interesting when I edit. And I almost just walked into a farm. Jeez, I'm the only one on this road here. Everyone else is like, what is this idiot doing? And just like all the bowls in Wakayama, yeah, it's not exactly light. Even though it's lighter than some of the other bowls, still packs a punch. You've got a cloudy sort of layer on top there, but once you dip that spoon in, the clouds disperse a bit. And it is a lighter soup, relatively. Pork was good. It was in between that super fatty style and a little bit tougher style, let's say. There was a lot of negi or spring onions. And the noodles here, they were similar to the previous place I went to. God, it's all blending all together, but a little bit more moist, more water content in them compared to some of the drier ones earlier today. And there was this sort of simplicity to the bowl. I mean, yeah, all of these bowls scream classic, but I would say the first shop, Seino, was the most maybe refined. It was kind of like Wakayama Ramen, but in a more modern, let's say, carefully prepared way. This perhaps, also the other place we just went to, Marumiya and Yamatame, felt the most classic. Oh my God, and then I'm going to the other places, they're all classic. It's all a question of, yeah, just lighter, heavy, and soy sauce to pork bone ratio. As I get older and, 4 bowls in today, like the lighter style definitely helps. Although because the noodles are so thin, I'm still hungry. Like, when I was up in Hokkaido, my God, with just thin noodles, like 4 bowls, it's like, I feel like tapping out. But now, like, I feel invincible. Same thing in Kyushu. And don't get me wrong, there are people that can eat a lot more than me, but I feel great. Minus the fact that I haven't slept. Ultimately, in the end though, I will not be able to visit the second place because it was my foolish planning. I looked at the map, I was like, okay, this place we just went to, Marumiya, is about halfway to the other place. That is the top ranked in all of Wakayama. So I was like, okay, well, we're going halfway there. It must be about half an hour to get there. I'll make it before they close. But no, that's not the case. It's much quicker from my hotel in the city center just because there's a direct train. It would actually take just as long from here as if I was going from the hotel. So unfortunately not gonna work out, but everything happens for a reason. And all that means is that tomorrow the sun will be shining brightly and I'll get some better footage in a place that certainly is worthy of such footage. We'll see if they live up to the hype. Now I just gotta find the bus back. Look, that was the farm I almost fell into earlier. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I hope to see you in the next episode. We're keeping it in Wakayama in the next episode, but Kyoto Ramen is right around the corner. Until next time.